Bring in Daniel Herbert, a criminal defense attorney and former police officer. Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Herbert. Chauvin's defense attorney in his opening statement suggested that Chauvin's actions were in line with what he called acceptable police practices. He also said this.
The use of force is not attractive, but it is a necessary component of policing.
From what we've learned so far in this trial, and we realize it's still very early, do Chauvin's actions seem standard or reasonable to you, especially given your own experience in law enforcement?
They don't. When I first saw it, I thought it was as distasteful as probably everyone else had saw it. However, I do recognize that Minnesota, at the time, their policy did allow for that type of a subduing of an individual. So, obviously, the prosecutors will have to acknowledge that point, but say at some point that became unreasonable.
George Floyd's cause of death is certainly central to this case, and Chauvin's attorney argues that Floyd had methamphetamine and fentanyl in his body when he died, as well as an underlying heart condition. How strong is that defense, would you say?
Well, it's a critical point that the defense has to make. It really comes down to how convincing and powerful their expert is. Because, that to me, that's really the only way that a juror is going to be able to render a verdict of not guilty in this case, because the actions are pretty indefensible. So attacking the causation element of the murder charges, that's the biggest factor here.
And we heard today from those minors, including that emotional testimony from Darnella Frazier, who seems so haunted by George Floyd's death. How impactful was that testimony? And in your experience, is it common for children who are eyewitnesses to be brought into court like this? I wouldn't say it's common, but I think it was extremely impactful. That was the child you were referring to. The individual I testified beforehand, I hate to play Monday morning quarterback for another attorney, but I remember the defense attorney asked the question, "Has this changed your life?" And I think he was trying to imply that she was seeking fame as a result of her videotaping this. And the prosecutor got up and just hammered and said, "Well, how has it changed your life?" A nice open-ended question where she provided minutes of dramatic testimony about what she saw and how it's impacted her. It was very powerful. And potentially backfired, I guess, for the defense in your estimation. Lastly, Chauvin's defense attorney, Eric Nelson, made a point about the anger of those eyewitnesses, suggesting that they were part of the threat that Chauvin was facing. What do you make of that defense strategy? Especially because, for the people who are watching that video, you see Chauvin with his hand in his pocket. And I wonder if that gives some suggestion that he wasn't feeling so threatened by the crowd. Well, the defense certainly has to, they have to make that argument because, clearly Chauvin was on Mr. Floyd for an excessive length of time. And, him citing some type of fear from crowd reaction could explain that. But, in this case, it seems to be cutting both ways because as the defense is making an issue about the crowd reaction, the judge is allowing in a lot of testimony about the crowd's reaction and what they saw. And, that's very powerful for the prosecutors. Daniel Herbert, we thank you so much for your time, your insight. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.